All right, so today we're talking about vertical, parabola, focus, and directrix. So today and tomorrow, you're going to learn that there's two types of parabolas. You have a vertical parabola and you have a horizontal parabola. Okay, today we're focusing on our vertical parabola, and vertical just means it's our standard U parabola. Okay, that's what makes it vertical. It's upright. Okay, if you would like to know, just FYI, a horizontal parabola is parallel to the horizontal. Okay, these are going to be page 67, 87. I said 60. 87 in your handy dandy notebook. All right. So our key vocabulary here, which is new, is called a focus and a directrix. Okay, your focus is that there's a set of all points in the plane are an equal distance from a given point on a given line. Okay, so they're equal distance from a given point on a line, and that equal distance starts at what's called your focus. Okay, it's like the center of the parabola, essentially. The best way to think about that is if you wear contacts, contacts. If you wear contacts, there's a focus of your contact. There's a center point of your contact so that the rest of your lens is equally distanced all the way across. Does that make sense? Then there's a directrix. The directrix is a parallel in a perpendicular axis to perpendicular to your axis of symmetry, and it is used mainly like in the manufacturing of anything with concavity in it, with a curve in it, but mainly, for example, would be flashlights. Okay, if you think about how a flashlight looks on the inside, it has a concave inside, and it has a base at the bottom. That the concavity of that inside has to be a certain distance from that base in order for the flashlight to properly work. Okay, but moving on. So we're going to talk about vertical parabolas. So the conic of today is vertical parabola. We're going to talk about it one at the origin. So if it's centered at the origin, these are the formulas that you'll utilize to analyze the graph, the function, equation, all the above. Okay, and what that means is that normally we would have ax squared, right? Ax squared plus bx plus c, correct? Sounds about right. Here we're only focused on ax squared, and our a actually has a value, and that value is 1/4/7. Okay, and then everything else is what it says. Yes, your a in this situation is going to always equal 1/4c. Okay, our vertex is still HK, right? So H and K is still our vertex. That means that I'm no longer at the origin. If there's an H and K present other than the value of 0, that means I am no longer at the origin, which means that it's going to cause shifts in my focus and in my directrix. Since it's a vertical parabola, notice that the shifts only affect my Y values. If I was a horizontal parabola, what do you think the shift would affect? The X values. All right, so let's dive in. Example 1. What is an equation of the parabola with the vertex at the origin and the focus 0, 2? So the fact that it tells me that my vertex is at the origin, I know off the back that my H and K are both what? 0, because it's at the origin. To identify my C value, I have to remember that it says your focus at the origin is 0, your C value. Well, it tells me my focus. So what is C? 2. Now that I know what that is, I'm using the equation y equals 1/4c times x squared. So do I have everything I need to fill in this equation? Yes, I only need C. So y equals 1/4 times 2 x squared. What is 4 times 2? So 1/8 x squared. And that's it. Okay, looking at the example on the board, I would like you to try example 2 on your own. Give you about 90 seconds or less. We don't. All right, so therefore, same thing. You use the focus to find your C value, right? And we know that our H and K are 0 because it says is that 0, 0. So what is your C? Negative 1.5. Because it's at the origin, you should have used 1/4 CX squared. So that gives us Y equals 1/4 times negative 1.5 X squared. If you owe 4 people $1.50, how much are you spending? 6. So negative 6 X squared. How'd you do? Okay, so this is the baseline for today. Everything else is going to go a little different, but if you can do this, then you can keep building on it. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we're doing what are the vertex, focus, and directrix of the parabola with the equation. So instead of finding the equation, we're given the equation and we're going to analyze the equation. Okay, so first thing first, to do anything, we have to find the C value. That's because C is super important for all aspects of this conic, of this parabola. So we're going to first identify our A value. Your A value is always your coefficient, right? Your leading coefficient is your A value. So for this problem, we know that A equals negative 112. Do we see that? Yes, no? So if it's not at it's still your leading coefficient. Your leading coefficient. Your A is always your leading coefficient. Okay, and we know that A equals 1/4C. So I set this equal to 1/4C. Back in 5th and 6th grade, you learned that this is called a proportion. When you have 2 fractions equal to each other. And how did you learn to solve proportions? The butterfly. You learned to cross multiply and divide, correct? So we're going to do the same thing here to solve for C. We're going to cross multiply. Negative 1 times 4C is negative 4C. Cross multiply. 1 times 12 is 12. Then I divide. This should feel extremely familiar in your lives. If not, that explains a lot. How do you feel about step 1? Yes? All right, step 2 is to find the vertex. Well, is there an HK that I can see here? So what does that mean my vertex is at? 0, 0. Step 3 is to find the focus. The formula for the focus is 0, comma, your C value. Do we know what C is? So the answer is 0, comma, negative 3. There's my focus. Okay, your directrix is Y equals negative C. So it's the opposite of your C. So therefore Y equals positive 3. And now you have found your vertex, your focus, and your directrix. So glad you say that. Please do example 4. So our A for this problem is 1/20. Agree? Yeah. We set it equal to 1/4C. We're going to cross multiply and divide. So we know that C has to equal 5. There's no present H and K. So our vertex is at the origin. Our focus is 0, comma, our C value, 0, 5. And our directrix is the opposite of our C value. So it makes negative 5. Do you feel comfortable finding the focus and directrix? I can't tell you any that it's not, but we're gonna keep going.
It's harder like every other problem.
It's a buildup. All right. So here we go. Now we're gonna go back to writing the equation, but this time we're given the directrix instead of the focus. It's actually easier, technically. So first thing I'm gonna do is decide what type of parabola do we have. The way you know what type of parabola you have is based off of what your directrix is, okay? We have a traditional vertical parabola because our directrix is y equals. Does that make sense? So our directrix is y equals, so we have a vertical parabola. So our end goal is to have 1 over 4c x squared. Oh, I meant to write this over here. Okay, because it's a vertical parabola. Okay, and then you just gotta identify your c. Your directrix is based off of your c and vice versa. What was the key word for the directrix and the c? They are what of each other? Opposites. So if my directrix is at y equals 5, what does that mean my c value has to equal? -5, because they are what again? Opposites. They're opposites of each other. And if there's no visual h and k, what is my vertex? 0, 0, because it says origin in there. Do I have everything I need to find my equation? So my equation equals 1 over 4 times -5, which is -20. What is our C? Mm-hmm. It says 4C, so that means you're always multiplying. All right, so we're gonna next problems, we're not gonna be at the origin anymore. We're now gonna be at the any other place but the origin, okay? So in example 6, it says, what is an equation of a parabola with the given vertex and focus, okay? So it's telling us, oh, you're not at the origin. So since we're not at the origin, we're using y equals 1 over 4c times x minus h squared plus k. Because we're no longer at the origin. Mm-hmm. So let's identify what is our h and our k. Well, what does h equal? -2. Why do I know it's -2? Because it comes from our vertex. What is our k? 5. Still with me? Yes. Okay. Now we're going to use the focus to find the c value. On the front side of your notes, it said that when you're not at the origin, the formula for the focus is h, comma, k plus c. Do you see that? Yes. Okay, so we're going to use that to find our c. So we're going to plug in what we do know. We have -2, comma, and it's going to be k plus c. So 5 plus c equals 6. And why did I say that? Because what is the y value of our focus? It's 6. 5 plus what equals 6, guys? 1. So our c value equals 1. All right. So do I have all 3 of my variables to plug into my equation? Yes. So y equals 1 over 4 times C. And what is 4 times C? 4 times X minus H. What is minus -2? Plus 2 plus K, which is 5. All right. All right, example 7 is the hardest that it will get. At least I told you. All right. So it says, what is the equation of parabola with a focus at 6, 8 and a directrix at y equals -2? Okay. We are using, again, if you look right here, we were given the vertex. Here, are we given our vertex? No. So we have to actually do some work to find our H and our K. Okay. To find our all right. So to find our H, we're going to use our focus. So the focus rule is H, comma, K plus C, right? So if we have H, comma, K plus C, and we know that our focus is at 6, comma, 8, what is our H value? 6. So H equals 6. Okay, to find our K value, we have to use our focus and our directrix. So from the focus, we know that K plus C has to equal what? 8. Do we see that? So we know that K plus C has to equal 8. From our directrix, which is written as y equals K minus C, we know that K minus C has to equal what? What is our directrix? -2. How did we learn to solve something like this? Elimination, someone said it, good job. Yes. As I was writing it, but needless to say, they said it though. Okay, so elimination means that I can combine these through addition as long as one eliminates. Does my C eliminate? Yes. And what is K plus K? 2K. What is 8 minus 2? 6. 2 times what equals 6, guys? So K equals 3. So I have my H and my K. To solve for my C, I'm going to use the fact that K plus C equals 8. 3 plus what equals 8? So C equals 5. Now I have my C, my H, and my K. Can I write my equation? So we have y equals 1 over 4 times 5, which is 20, times X minus H, which is plus K, which is 3. Okay. This is the, all right. Okay, so